Are there others who wish to be recognized? Senator Newhouse, you're recognized for a story.
Thank you, Madam President. In the military, there's a tradition called the hail and farewell. So the new people come into the squadron or the unit, and they get welcomed in, and the outgoing members get a chance to be roasted or so. And as a new guy coming in, you hear these stories, and you see the giants that are departing. You think, how could we ever fill those shoes? I don't know if we can fill Gary Stanislawski's shoes in here. You've left such an indelible mark on our institution. And sir, you're 28 years of public service. And I count that as saying you're 8 years in the Air Force, 8 years on the Jinx School Board, 12 years in the Senate. And these are not been 28 easy years. Friends, in his time in the Air Force, let me just say as an Air Force, I'm a Navy pilot, Air Force pilot, what they go through is extreme pressure. As Air Force pilots, they'll stand them up in front of a room this big and make them recite their emergency procedures. And if they don't recite it verbatim, then you get reprimanded, and bad things happen. So just in front of all those people, under that intense pressure, and then all those years in the Jinx School Board, and then here, and I think to myself, sometimes we go through our ups and downs as senators, and he's done that for 12 years, also as a chairman and vice chairman of different committees. And just to say in closing, it's been an honor for me to serve as his vice chairman. Sometimes there's different relationships in that regard, but he has included me in every single meeting he's been a part of, trying to pass on to me what he's learned. And it's been just an immense amount of knowledge that he has. Sir, thank you for all your years, your 28 years of service for our state and our country.
Are there others who wish to be recognized? Madam Leader, you're recognized for a story.
Thank you, Madam President. Gary Stanislawski, when I came in, I used to wonder how could anybody keep their composure and be as perfect as Gary Stanislawski. I mean, it was just, you were unflappable. You seemed to know the rules backwards and forwards until this year, when you got senioritis. And I have to tell you, I've appreciated seeing that senioritis when you've made some mistakes and you can literally tell you are halfway out the door. But I also, before I get into the really serious part, I want to thank you for letting me pass you on the highway every once in a while. It made me feel better. And then one time I remember we'd as a group gone out to the OU Weather Center and then gone out to a restaurant to eat, and then we were going to a movie, and my car made it to the restaurant before your car because I knew a shortcut, and I was so proud of myself because I beat you there. So thank you for giving me those little small things. I just want to say that you've truly made me a better senator, because I try to, when I start getting angry or emotional, as this building can tempers can run high, and people can get overly excited about things, and then I watch you kind of bring us all back down and take a deep breath. And I was pretty sure yesterday we were all going to be singing Kumbaya before we left caucus. Wasn't quite there, but it was close. So thank you for that. Thank you for making me a better senator, and I really appreciate being able to serve with you.
Senator Haste, you're recognized for a story.
Thank you, Madam President. You know, it's kind of like, as we're sitting here and saying goodbye to Gary, I'm finishing my second year. And as I think back with Senator Stanislawski, first of all, I found out election night that he was going to be my mentor. And so he comes to the election, my watch party, and the election results were just starting to come in, because the way we had it set up, we had a big board set up, and we had a team over here getting the numbers. We had a runner that would bring it over, and then someone else would write the numbers on the board for each precinct. So it was kind of cool. And so, but the first two precincts came in, and I was behind. And Gary was there, and he says, don't worry, you're fine. And then three more came in, and all of a sudden my numbers started coming up, and it was, in fact, one precinct came in, he says, you got it. And so that was my first. I'd never met Gary before. And so it's been great, number one, him as a mentor. And it was interesting, too, Senator Treat, you were talking about cars. Well, Gary and I used to have the exact same car. Okay, so, and I didn't even realize this till I was meeting him from breakfast one day, and I pull up my car, and I look, and there's his car. Now, they're backed in, and you have to look at this. All right. Same color, same year, same model, exactly. And then you look at our license plate, S35, S36. So it looked like company cars that we were there. So it was really kind of cool. But Gary, I just want to say thank you so much as being my mentor, as being able to watch a legend work through this. And you've shown some really great things, and it's just very exciting for me to have been here for 2 years to watch you go out. And I'm just hoping that I will be able to carry on some of the things that you've shown to me and passed on to me. And I wish you all the best.
Senator Standridge, did you wish to be recognized? Senator Standridge, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Madam Leader. Gary, 8 years, buddy. It's been a while. And I'm not going to be specific about a story, but I want to share. I'm very honored. I mean, the first few years, I was called Senator Stanislawski a lot, and Gary was been called Senator Standridge a lot. I've actually very much enjoyed that. It's an honor to be mixed up with Gary Stanislawski on occasion. But one thing, Gary and I have a lot of meetings about politics and stuff, and anybody knows me, I'm no political master in the furthest stretch. And Gary, I would say, I think we're similar in that way. And him and Sykes and some of us that's been around for a while, we'd sit down, and Nathan, and somebody would tell Gary about some kind of maneuver or manipulation that's going on, and Gary would look at you and say, "Are you sure?" Here you go. "Are you sure?" "No, surely they're not doing that." And I just always love that about you, Gary. I've always loved that about you, because I pine to be that. That's how I aspire to be, and I hope I am that way, because I don't want to see the worst in people. I want to see the best. And you always, Gary, you always see the best in people. And you've always seen the best in me, something I really love about you. And so I'm going to miss that about you. I've always found you to be a great sounding board. And I like it when I soundboard something like that and you say, "Rob, no, that can't be right." But sometimes you come around and say, "Rob, you were right. That was definitely wrong the way that happened." But anyway, appreciate you very much, my friend. I'm your friend for life. If you ever need anything, you call on me, and we'll miss you dearly. Thank you.
Senator Yeck, you're recognized for a story.
Thank you, Madam Pro Tem. Madam President, Mr. Pro Tem, I didn't know sorry about that. We did not have an election when you were absent, so I don't know if you opened this up. When you opened it up, you expected all these stories, but I'm glad to be able to do this. I just want to say, when I got here in 2015, you made me feel special, as you probably do all my other classmates, but you reached out to me and made me feel welcome. I think it was the first committee meeting. One of my classmates was presenting a bill. I don't remember if it was you, Senator Bice, or you, Senator Thompson, but someone was presenting the bill, and you said, "Hey, that's your classmate. You may want to do a due pass." What's a due pass? I didn't know what a due pass was, but you encouraged me in that regard. But Madam Leader, you shared a story about him passing you on the highway. Well, when I first got here, I was just down the hallway. My office was from you, and I think you were a majority leader, and we were headed to caucus, so you had all your files, you had the gavel, and off you go. And up the steps you go, and I think you're on the 4th floor, and I don't know what you hit, but splat, down you went. And you cut your head open. Seems like you bloodied your nose. Dana, I don't know what story he came up with when he came home to explain that. But you recovered, you bounced up. So I just want to say, it's from my position, it's hard to see guys go. I've seen some guys that did leave this building, and I don't see them leaving kicking and screaming. I don't think you are either, but it's sad for us to see you go. It's hard to see all that knowledge go out of this building because you won't be missed. I want to thank you personally for making me feel welcome and helping me along as a mentor and helping me through this process. So you'll be missed. Dana, I know you'll welcome him back. So thank you, Gary, for all you've done.
Senator Dom, you're recognized for a story.
Thank you, Madam President. I still remember the very first time I met Gary Stanislawski. It was not at Lido's, but it was actually at the Chinese Super Buffet on Memorial, 73rd and Memorial. I still remember that. He was a newly elected state senator. I was a newly elected political activist. It was at the Tulsa County Republican Men's Club. He was there attending, and our speaker did not show up. So in true Gary Stanislawski fashion, he volunteered. He stepped up and said, you know what, I'll be more than willing to speak for a bit. And in true newly elected novice fashion, he offered to answer questions as well. So he spoke for a few minutes, or probably a half hour even, and then opened it up for questions. This might shock you all, but I asked him a question. And my question was, where do you stand on constitutional carry? I'm not going to tell you what his answer is. That doesn't matter now. But Gary Stanislawski has always been involved as much as he could. He was not the scheduled speaker for that day. He was just there because he was making himself available to people who weren't even his constituents, those that he wanted to serve. He stepped up like he has done so many times during my 8 years here and his 12 years here and throughout his 28 years of public service. So we thank you so much for not just what you've done, but for who you are. God bless you. We appreciate you.
Senator Quinn, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. I've known Gary for a good while, and some of you may not know his real name, and it's Gary Stanislawski. Lowski, I think, is the way that I pronounce it 1,400 times in committee. But it's going to come as a shock to you, Senator, that I'm a B-1 pilot as well. And I don't have the pictures or anything to prove that. And most of those bombing raids were off the top of a storm cellar out in my mom and dad's front yard. But my dad was was in the Air Force as well. And so you come down, and as many of you have already said, Gary is a welcoming individual, and you walk in and you find out that you've got something in common because of family, and you see those pictures, and you see a resume that is just massive. And somehow he decided to mess all that up and become a politician. I'm not sure exactly why, but his life has always been about service, and you have taken that, Senator, to a very high level in every capacity, whether it's been on the school board, whether it's been as a senator, or whether it's been as serving our country. And just a couple of things that I jotted down. You're a man of character, and the only thing is, I don't see him struggling like I do. It's just, he has that ability. He stands out as a man of character. It's one that I hope all of us will try to emulate. He's just a quality human being. I've seen him on the golf course. I've seen him at Lido's too many times to mention. And the thing about his Christian character that I see and has challenged me behind the scenes is the fact that it doesn't make any difference where you're at. If you're going to eat and Gary's in the audience, you're going to pray. And I think deep down that says so much about him, and probably says as much as we need to say about the type individual that he is. I want to thank you for your service and allowing the rest of us to be a part of that here. I want to thank you as well, in all seriousness, for the willingness that you had to serve your country, and more importantly, to serve your Lord and Savior to the level that you do. And I'll treasure your friendship, and I'm a better person because of you.
Senator Rader, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. My first meeting of Gary Stanislawski was at a picnic held by a Republican group. This is during the campaign of 16. This is when I admittedly knew everything about politics was during the campaign. And I met Senator Stanislawski there and asked him, well, what are you working on? And his enthusiasm for online learning just came across at that moment. And then, of course, when you come here and you sense his enthusiasm and his dedication for learning of all sorts and helping children throughout our state, you go back to that first meeting, you say, that was a genuine meeting. And then when you serve with Gary Stanislawski, you serve with a genuine person, do you not? So I wanted to be with that person. So, when you come in, you want to hang out with, people that are going to make you better. And there is going to be a note come out, we're going to lunch somewhere, Gary Stanislawski. That note's going to come out, right? So when the first week we're there, the first note came out, we're going to go to lunch, and where are we going to go? Thank you very much. We're going to go to Lido's. We sit down there, and this is going to be great. We'll be able to hear from these senators, especially Senator Stanislawski, and we sit down to eat, and he orders something, and then he asks for hot sauce. Okay? And, I'm used to people dumping a couple of drops on there, and he just holds the bottle and just dumps the hot sauce out over and over and over again. I said, my goodness, do you eat all that hot sauce? Oh yeah, this is not enough. In fact, I wish it was even hotter. Then we eat, he throws it down, we're in a hurry to come back up. And what do we do when we come to the building? We go up the steps, one at a time? No, two at a time, okay? With hot sauce, with the way he's eating. The man can eat, folks, and you know that he can. And he stays as slim as he is. Those are good memories. The best memories are in here, Senator. Thanks for your leadership. Thanks for your calming influence on so many situations. And I know that envy is not a fruit of the Spirit. I understand it. But I envy your walk. I envy your walk in the way. I envy your walk to the one who leads the way. Thank you for that influence on all of us. We wish you the very best.
Senator Bice, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm going to follow up my friend, Senator Rader, with a similar story about food, and Senator Stanislawski. Many of you may know that before I was elected many moons ago, I actually did food reviews for the Oklahoma Gazette. I love to eat, I love to cook, and it was a passion. So I remember when I was elected, we were told about wrap-up lunch, Thursday afternoon wrap-up lunch, and there were two places that we would go for wrap-up lunch. One of them was, and the other one was Boulevard Cafe. It was sort of referent. If any of you had ever been to Boulevard Cafe before, Senator David shaking her head over there. It was you walked into 1955 when you walked into Boulevard Cafe, but these guys loved it, and so I went. And after a while, I thought, why are we going to Lido's? Can we go somewhere else? And so I went to Senator and I said, hey, there's some really great new restaurants that we could try out, and he said, well, okay, give me a list, let's talk about it. And that was a big mistake, because then every Thursday he would come to me and go, where are we going to eat? And I would think, well, that's like the what's for dinner question every single week. And so then at some one point I said, we're going to Lido's, right? I want you to know how much I appreciate your calm demeanor, your thoughtfulness, your professionalism, your kindness. And I want to say to Mrs. Stanislawski, thank you for loaning him to us, to this body, for the last 12 years. Everybody in this room knows it is a sacrifice to our families, particularly for you, because you all live in Tulsa, so you didn't see him during the week. So it is with heartfelt gratitude that I say thank you to you for allowing us to have him as a part of this body for the last 12 years. And Senator, I wish you the very best in future endeavors.
Senator Shaw, you're recognized.
President, I have a friend in Ukraine whose name I never could pronounce, so we just called him Stas. He's a native evangelist. Our church supports him, and he's been in my home a few times. I did learn this last time that his first name is actually Stanislav. And he told me that if you put the S-K-I on the end of it, it meant the child of. So I find out a little bit more about Gary's name and what it means. I was able to ride with Gary to the Capitol one day. Some of those days we have a caucus and drive over and drive back. And when I got to Tulsa, you see, I'm halfway here. And so I let him drive the second half. And I've done that with some of the other guys. And it's always nice to be able to sit and visit. And I found out that had I have stayed in Broken Arrow longer, I would have had a chance to meet Gary earlier. Because I was doing Christian education at one of the churches there, and Gary started getting Christian educators together. And I regret the fact that we didn't get a chance to meet then. But I have enjoyed knowing him since I've been up here. As you probably know, I prefer the back row. It's a carryover from school days. And yes, I do know that those sit in front get the A's and B's and so forth. And that's why I'm sitting in the back. But my friend Bill Brown would sit back here with me. And I remember early on, he says, just watch Senator Stanislawski. He always brings good bills to the floor, and they're always very well thought out. And I've noticed that about him, but I think that speaks about his whole life. He brings good things to the floor, brings good things to all of us. They're very well thought out, and I want to say thank you, Gary, for being a good example for all of us, and we appreciate your friendship. Thank you.
Are there any others? Senator Simpson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Just to echo what the pro tem and the leader had said, I searched high and low to find some dirt on Gary. I even ran an ad on Craigslist trying to find something, but got no response there either. But Gary and I have been together now for 10 years, haven't we? 10 years. When I first came here in the 2011 session, gray hair, I saw Gary and I thought, boy, that guy's got almost as gray hair as I have. He must have been around here for a long time, but had only been here a couple of years. But you're right. If you want to learn how to legislate and how to be a diplomat and a statesman, you watch Gary Stanislawski, because he's good at all three. He's a good politician. He offers good legislation, like Senator Shaw had said, and he is fair, even-handed, and represents his constituents very well. They should be very, very proud of him. I observed him many times in caucus and sort of saw Gary as the tower of maturity and calmness and wisdom among a bunch of unruly kids sometimes. And he has a way of using words to bring us all back to planet Earth and putting things back in proper perspective. Gary, it's been a pleasure to serve with you. This chamber is going to miss you. You're going to leave a void here that's going to be hard for your predecessor or for your successor to fill. In fact, they're not going to be able to fill it. They might try to substitute for you, but they're not going to fill the void that you're going to leave in this chamber. You've done a tremendous job here, and your lovely wife should be very, very proud of what you have done for the great state of Oklahoma. As one veteran to a fellow veteran, I just would like to say thank you for your service, and God bless you. Fair winds and following seas, brother.
Are there any others? Excuse me, Senator Coleman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Leader. When I first became aware of Gary, he called my house, talked to me for a while. My wife said, "Who was that?" I said, "That's Senator Gary something." But we were told early in the week to make up a story, not to make up a story, to have a story about Gary. I thought, I really don't have any, so maybe I'll just make one up. Well, the dean took care of that yesterday. We came back from lunch, not at Lito's, but from Bedlam. It's mid-May in the Senate, and I'm like wanting to take the elevator. And if you look at the both of us, we have very similar physiques. The dean, of course, he wanted to take the stairs, so off he goes. I get in the elevator, floor 1, door opens, nobody there.
Door 2, floor 2, door opens, nobody there. Floor 3, door opens, nobody there. Gentlemen, I said, we have been punked by the dean. He hit every button on the way up the stairs. Gary, I'm going to miss you. I'm going to miss hearing your thoughts. You're a great thinker.
Will there be others? Don't want to miss anybody. Madam Leader?
Thank you, Madam President. Members, we do have refreshments back here in the reception area. So, Madam President,
Gary, speak.
Oh, you get to speak. I apologize. You were so right. See, I'm new to this way back to this. I'm trying to kick you back there for cookies. We're all hungry. Madam President, please recognize the great Dean of the Senate, Senator Stanislawski.
Senator Stanislawski, Dean of the Senate, you are recognized.
Thank you. All right, now is my time. And I know each one of you. I know you well. Thank you so much for honoring me today and having my wife Dana. Also, my son Sean is up here with us. You'd honor him. My daughter Christy actually lives in Dallas, and she injured her leg, ankle area about a week or so ago, on crutches, and it still throbs. So she's watching online, so appreciate her watching. And let me tell you, 12 years goes by very, very fast. I mean, when you first start out, you think, we're all new, right? We all came off the campaign trail. We're all experts. We've listened to the voter, we've communicated, and we won. We're an expert, right? And so we get here, and it's just awesome to be sworn in by a Chief Justice or one of the justices, and then we clap, we all have our families up here. And I remember that first day I wasn't here, I was at some other desk or something, and I had, 2 lines. One, be sure, when it's your turn, be sure to thank your wife and family, and be sure to thank your predecessor, if your predecessor's here. And mine was. And that whole time, right after we get sworn in, we're sitting down, we're introducing, or whatever direction it was, in my brain is going over, don't forget, introduce my wife, introduce Senator Williamson, don't forget. I think I forgot to introduce Senator Williamson. I'm pretty confident of that. But I'll tell you, he was and is a very great man as well, from Senate District 35. Senator James Williamson served for, I believe, 25 years, both in the House and in the Senate. And he was also the dean. Now, I heard him being called the dean. Didn't mean anything to. I don't know what that means, but he's the dean. Okay, okay, great. But it wasn't until 2 years ago when we were exiting that last day, sine die. Bob comes up to me over here, throws his big arm around me. If you've ever had him do that, you know he's there, right? The big arm goes around you, and he goes, Senator, you're now the dean of the Senate. What's that, Bob? You're the dean of the Senate. All right. What does that mean? Well, you're the last one in your class with the most seniority. You're the dean. And it was kind of interesting. I thought about that. That's cool. Okay, I'm the dean. But it wasn't until, and I'll tell you, this is special. It wasn't until some of you started calling me the dean. It was like, I better start acting a little more mature. I better start acting a little more dignified. I've got to uphold a reputation here now of the dean, and I'm serious. It does something to you, and I hope just being a senator. And when I say just being, I mean we are greatly privileged, each one of us, to be a senator, and to be a senator, we all act differently. We all act more dignified. We all act more responsible. In what we do makes a difference across our entire state. Who we are. We don't represent just our district, which is, I'm thankful for Senate District 35, and every vote I got, I won by 15 votes. And yes, it was close. I was very thankful. But I know, at least I believe, I don't represent just my district. My door is open to anyone in our state, whether they're Republican, Independent, the Democrats, I mean, you name, my door's open. Why? Because I represent this state, the state that each one of us love. And if we're going to be a senator, then we act like a senator, and you all do. We're more responsible. We're responsive. I mean, we take a lot of abuse sometimes from constituents, and not my constituents, your constituents give me abuse sometimes. And what do? You smile, you listen, because we don't know what's going through their mind and the pain that's in their heart. And so we respect each individual, because that's who they are. They're an individual that have individual needs, and we give them the same respect as someone in my own district. You know, people would ask me when I was first elected, you know, or would wonder, you know, I didn't vote for you, so can I still come see you? You voted or not voted, it doesn't matter to me. You're a citizen of this great state, then I'm open for you. I want to listen to you. And because I listen, I guess that's who I am. I'm a lifelong learner. You've heard that many times from people. I truly am a lifelong learner. I know one thing. I know I don't know it all. I know that. And what I enjoy about this job so much is we're constantly learning. We see some people sometimes where they're not, and that's unfortunate. I've served over the 12 years with some folks that, I mean, they didn't want to expand their thinking. And they were just here, and it was kind of sad. It kind of hurt. It was, well, why are you here? A lot of times people run for office because of power, prestige. They want the title. The people here that I see in this chamber today are here because they love Oklahoma and the people of Oklahoma. And I truly believe that. Because I've served with people that I question what their motive really was. I really did. And you've seen folks like that too. We see it in DC sometimes. But I am so proud to be able to serve in this chamber with the men and women of this chamber that I can tell you I respect greatly, whether it's in that far wall there to the far wall here. I respect you, and I respect the people you serve who elected you. That's why I'll come over and talk to you. You ask me a question, sometimes you give me a hard time. I know that, Senator Dossett. I wasn't going to point out any names, but hey, I'm not pointing a finger. Just a hand, all right? Just a hand, all right? Some of y'all just want to give me a hard time, and that's okay. Sometimes that's our job, is to, iron sharpens iron. It does. And you've made me, and you've made me, and you've made me, and you've made me, and each one of you have made me a better person and a better senator. Because if I'm going to present something, I better know my stuff. Because I know someone's going to ask. It's inevitable. Someone's going to ask. And so if I know someone's going to ask, do the homework on the front end and be prepared. And you all have caused me to be a better person. I too love this institution as much as you do. And that also is sad. Sometimes people come here and you see it. Each one of us felt that way. You first get here, there's a lot of awe and wonder. You know? I've got an office in the state capitol. I mean, there's not that many people that can say that. We're part of a family, a fraternity that's very small. It truly is. And yet, the people have elected each one of us, and we have an office. I come in here and I think, Lord, thanks. I've got an office. This is cool. I have the opportunity to serve people. And it's just awe-inspiring. But sometimes we get complacent And it's just an office, it's just a job. We show up late, we want to leave early, we just go in, we do our thing and leave. And we lose sight of really people want the authority, but we lose sight of the responsibility that the people have given to us. I can tell you, and I'm going to say it again, I said it a few minutes ago, I think every person in here understands that responsibility, because I see each one of you working incredibly hard. I mean, I really do. And we can be on opposite sides of policy and have vigorous debate and annoying questions. But you know what? To me, and I know you believe this too, you get better policy, better outcomes because we hold each other accountable and because we all care and want to accomplish the same thing. So I've been very, very privileged to be able to serve with each one of you guys. We have to always remember the institution of the Senate is bigger than any one of us. We are standing on the shoulders of men and women over the last 100 years that made this state great, that have also served in this chamber. Let us not ever lose sight of the responsibility we have to when we've been handed the torch or the baton, that we continue with the same integrity as the person before us. That's an awesome responsibility. So I appreciate the institution. I appreciate the people here. I was asked many times, and I told people, I'll tell you later, what's been my favorite things here? Well, let me start with some funny things. I remember sitting over here somewhere, and one of the funny things was, I think it was like the second year I was here, Pro Tem asked me if I wanted to be a presiding officer. And sure, that sounds fun. By the way, if there's one word that sums up who I am, it's fun. I like to have fun. Enjoy life. You want to be serious? Yes. But let's enjoy it along the way. Enjoy the journey. So I said yes. So I'm up here, and I've done it a few times. And you all notice that there's usually a dull roar in the chamber as people are kind of talking, and people are talking here, and people are talking there. There's kind of a lull, a little roar going on. Until someone wants to ask a question. At the last second, are there any more questions? Someone throws up a hand. And all of a sudden, because it was so quick, at least this happens to me more than I care to acknowledge, my brain freezes. And I could have just said your name 2 minutes ago. But can I remember that name right now? No. And as you stand there up front and you're trying to think of that name, all of a sudden, the whole chamber stares up front. I mean, you all do that intentionally, I know. It's quiet and you're all staring. It's like, what is he doing? Well, what he is doing is trying to remember the name. And so I'm thankful for that guy right there, Secretary Zurix, he is amazing at how quickly he can remember a name and throw up there Brooks, Treat, whoever, it happens. But I remember this one time, I'm up there, and we used to have a former member here that loved to give me a hard time. And he'd sit right over there where the chairman sits over there right now, Chairman Thompson. And as I'm running bills and stuff, he'd constantly be doing this. So as I'm looking out and I scan this way, here he is. Come on, speed up, come on. It's like, you're annoying, dude. But he always did this to me, always. I don't think he did it to any other presiding officer, but he always did it to me. And so one day I'm running a bill, or I'm up front, and people are running the bill, and we get to, and the vote will now occur. If you're in favor of the measure, you will vote aye, and my brain froze. It just froze. And I'm thinking, if you want to vote the other way, vote opposite. Is that not right? It sounds just about exactly like that. And the place did exactly what it just now did. Kind of laughed and erupted in some laughter. Then I had to go grab the book. What was that line again? I remember, as you can tell, I get passionate sometimes if I'm debating a bill or I'm debating on behalf of someone else or something. Well, obviously it's an education bill, and I'm debating this bill. And I'm new. I might have been my first year, maybe second year. I'm new. And I had this impassioned, emboldened debate. I mean, surely everyone's going to vote for it because how great this debate is. You kind of imagine watching, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington and other movies like that. I mean, a man with a purpose. And so I'm going to close debate. And it had something to do with education and kids. And I could not think of how to close. I want to close with something that's going to be meaningful and impactful and make people want to vote for it. And I'm thinking there, and it's not coming to me, and I just finally said, and God bless America. And the place erupts. Or, of course, the standard is, the standby is when you can't think of what to close, and it's for the kids, and you put the mic down, you know. Great times. Goofy things that have happened that I have done. There's too many to number, but those are some good times. I remember some of the greatest things that we have here is at times when we do things together. So driving out to Amber, Oklahoma. How many have not been to Amber, Oklahoma? If you haven't, you've missed out. You need to go. There is a stop sign. I don't think there's a traffic light, and there is one restaurant right across from the school. And you can go there for steak and fellowship, but it takes an hour to get there. I had some great times with people riding with me and talking on the way, and there's just a memory I'll never forget. Or a couple of trips out to Ishins. Ishins is absolutely iconic. I just love that place. And we even went once, just the two of us, Danny, you've got to see this restaurant. It's a dive. But it's so good. It is delicious chicken and other stuff, and it's just fun. And again, it's like an hour to get there. But it's something I always remember. I would never have done that had I not been here. Just the opportunities afforded to us to go to different places, the opportunities afforded to us to meet people in our districts or across the state, the opportunities afforded to us to get to know each other. Because each one of us, each one of you are leaders. And anytime I'm around a leader, I'm learning something. And so you help me just by hanging around me sometimes. And I'm so grateful for that. I really am. I'm also thankful for one of the things I learned here was if someone wanted to vote against a bill or debate against something that I was running, when I was first here, I took that very personal. Why do you hate me? What's wrong with me? Oh, it's a good bill. Why? And what do? You learn. It's not all about you. It's about the policy. So you've got to separate you from the policy. And you advocate for good public policy. And if people come against it, it's not because of you, it's because they have a different view on that policy. And that's okay. That's okay. But one of the things I respect the most about this body is when we debate vigorously on different policy, we don't point out you and your policy and how bad this is. We talk about the policy. We respect one another in our office, and we don't belittle one another, okay? And that is so important for healthy debate. I learned that here, and I'm just very thankful for you for that. What bills do I think I'm most proud of? That was one that someone had asked. Well, there's really four. I'll just do real quick. One has already been mentioned, dealing with virtual. And many of you don't know the story. So if you don't mind, indulge me just a minute. Here's the story. I just finished the Jinx School Board. I had to resign. I didn't have a general election, just a primary. So I could still serve on the board after the primary. And the first Monday in November, we have our school board meeting. That's the official day. At the end of the meeting, I resigned. 2 weeks later, in our district, we have a legislative lunch. So 2 weeks later, I'm back for the lunch. But now I'm a legislator. And so now I'm there, and I'm learning from other legislators that are there. And at the end, a gentleman from an association comes up to me and asks me, an association similar to COSA, Suburban Schools Association, and he asked me privately, he said, Gary, would you mind running a task force on virtual learning? I said, first of all, what's a task force? And then secondly, I don't know anything about virtual learning. In fact, I don't even think we do it here at our school. So I'm not sure if I can help you. And he said, no, don't worry about it. You'll learn. And he tells me a little bit about it. And I said, well, if it's good for the kids, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to be for it. He said, that's okay. We just think it's the Wild West because local districts from throughout the state are grabbing kids from across the state in their local district because they started a full-time school. And we think there's a better way. I said, okay, I'll run it. That's how I got involved. It wasn't something that I campaigned on. It's because I was simply asked. And a creation out of that, in the 2-year task force, that we created the statewide virtual school board, which we've also now renamed to the Digital Technology Board or something like that. I can't remember, but we've done that this session and tried to reemphasize the priorities of that board. But that's how it all began. And if there's something I can be proud of, is giving kids another option, another opportunity. And so that's something I'll always be thankful for. Another one was when I was the chairman of transportation. And I would see all these omnibus bills coming from the House with about 15, 20 names on it to name a road or bridge. And the second year of being the chairman, I finally wised up and I thought, why? Why are we doing all these? And I asked the question, why? Who are these people? And one of the answers I got back was from someone across the rotunda was, well, that was my campaign manager and I want to honor them and name the bridge after them. And I said, whoa, time out. We're done with that. And that bill was not going to advance until all of those things, those personal things like that were removed. And I instituted a form. I'm thankful for Shannon too, by the way, my EA for 12 years, put up with me for a long time and helped me create this form. And was just simply, it was this. This was the idea, and I hope it continues. Obviously, it's up to you all. But the idea was this simple. If we're honoring someone, in first place to honor our fallen veterans, or someone in firefighters or police officers, first responders in the line of duty, if they're injured, fallen, they're first on the line, I think, and we've all done that. But if we're going to honor them, let's honor them. And so we created a form so that we could acknowledge them in committee and honor them in what they did. And that was different. And that's something I'll always remember. That was a change that I was able to be a part of. A third one was back several years ago with the debates on third grade reading, which is incredibly important, but to stand here and to be able to debate for a parental conference, a parental committee, the parent involvement of whether their child gets retained or not, at least have access, at least have input, and to be able to do that and that particular bill, be able to do that a second time, like we did last night. But that's something I'll always be proud of. And finally, my very first bill, my very first one. Do you remember when you first got here? And you wondered, you know where the office is, but you have to hunt and look for where the bathroom is. Okay, I mean, you're just not sure. The Chairman Ford asks me, this was the Thursday prior to the first day of session, that first week. We used to have Education Committee on Monday, and the first week he'd have a committee meeting. And he asked me, Gary, would you like to run your bill? Sure. I don't know anything, sure. And so I come, and it's Monday. First, I had to find the committee room. I find it successfully. All these distinguished people around the table in 411. And the bill I thought was a very simple bill. See, one thing bothered me on the school board was we had to contract with teachers by March 15th. But as a local district, we didn't get our budget from you all until the end of session. And that made no sense to me. In fact, that kind of irritated me, that we're making a contract before we know our budget. And I didn't think that was fiscally prudent. Remember, I do financial planning, so it just didn't make sense to me. All I did was run a bill to move that date back to June so that we know. Well, you would think everything was going to fall apart. I mean, the world was going to come apart because I was moving this date. And I remember distinctly a gentleman, a senator, used to sit in the back corner there, who in debate just got very emotional over it. And I paused. I let the temperature of the room kind of go down. And I said exactly what I always say in this chamber. You've heard over and over again. Senator, I think this bill is the right bill for kids. Because if we overcommit and we make these school districts hire too many staff and we don't give them a good enough allocation for their budget, they're going to have to make some serious cuts, and it's going to impact kids. And it's the right thing for students. And said a few more things after that. And when I walked out, the vote was, if there were 15 members, then the vote was 8 ayes and 7 nays. I mean, it was close. And as I walked out, Senator Jolly threw his arm around me and he said, you know, that was a historic vote. I said, why? Because number one, that vote never would have happened historically. And number two, it certainly would not have passed. It was a historic vote. And I'm thankful that I could be a part of history, to be a part of watching change. Watching change. You're a part of history today. You see good, you can debate against policy, good, bad, but you're a part of it. And each one of you, I thank you for doing your part, for studying hard, for respecting the institution, for respecting one another, and doing what's right for the people of Oklahoma. And I'm most thankful for my family allowing me to be able to take the time to be here. So I'm going to miss all of you. I sincerely, truly will. It's been an honor serving with you, and thank you for Mr. Pro Tem for allowing me this opportunity. Thank you all.
Mr. Pro Tem, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, Senator Stanislawski did what no one else has been able to do. You had me stay on the floor for a little while. So, man, I love you. I wanted to bring this tradition back. Thank you for participating. Thank you for your service. And as a token of our gratitude, we do have the microphone. We brought that back as well. And we want you to have that as a remembrance. We've got a lot of work still today and tomorrow. But thank you for your words. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you for your service.